This is Gumball getting hit directly in the face with a bowling ball. And this is the water sins getting sucked in by a magnetic force. Which really makes me wonder, how much in total would the Watersons owe in hospital bills if they could really get hurt? Well, today, we're gonna add it all up. From some of the cheapest injuries only costing a couple $1,000 to some injuries that could cost millions of dollars. Starting with the time that Gumball thought he was gonna have a date with Penny, in the episode coincidentally called The Date. But when Gumball arrives at Penny's house, he finds out it's not a date, and it's a funeral for Penny's pet tarantula, Mr. Cuddles. He tries to be supportive, but he ends up freaking out, upsetting Penny's sister and making a bad impression on her dad. However, Gumball redeems himself by finding Mr. Cuddles alive, but not without taking a couple hundred bites in the process. For this, Gumball could be looking at around $5,000 in hospital bills, covering an ER visit, IV medication, and a possible overnight stay. And for Nicole, who is the only one in the family that's working and is paid in literal peanuts, that kind of cost would already crush the Watersons. And we're just getting started. Next, let's move on to when luck is not on Gumball's side. In The Apprentice, Gumball tries to impress Penny by tagging along on her dad's Patrick's business trip. Patrick wants nothing to do with him, but he ends up having to call Gumball his apprentice when Gumball sneaks in to work with him. Gumball annoys him nonstop, from checking bathroom safety to altering with his DNA, and so many other absurd things. But when they meet the goblin investor, Gumball turns the deal into a golf match. Except Patrick doesn't know how to play, so they cheat using every trick in the book, from magnets to vacuums. And just as they're about to win, Gumball gets knocked out. And when you stack the ER visit, CT scan, overnight stay, and meds, you're looking at a bill around $10,000. And wow, that golf ball might as well have been a no-scope headshot. The Watersons better have some health insurance. But one thing you might notice is that when it comes to getting hurt, and some of these bigger injuries, it's almost always Richard. And yeah, his dumbness definitely has something to do with that. In The Authority, Richard is trying to watch TV, but the remote doesn't work because there are no batteries. He spots some on the coffee table, and instead of just walking over like anyone else would, he starts chucking them at the TV, hoping to hit the power button, and he ends up smashing the screen. He tries everything, from banging the TV, to cutting a hole in the wall, and even climbing on the roof to get to the satellite dish. But when he throws more batteries at the dish, one bounces back, hits him in the head, and sends him falling off the roof. And just to top it off, the roof tiles and the dish fall onto him too, knocking him out cold. And when you add all of these injuries up, yeah, Richard is looking at a bill pushing $15,000, all because a TV remote didn't have batteries. Now, Gumball may have been the only one out of them to take a golf ball to the skull, but in the gift, 3 out of the 5 Watersons experience something 10 times dumber. Richard and the kids are watching TV when they get an invitation to a birthday party from Masami, except it's not your average invitation with a letter. No, Masami is so rich that she has Larry show up to their door dressed like royalty, playing a bungle and delivering the invite with a blinding flash that literally burns her name into their retinas.
That was it. The confetti spelled it out.
We were kind of blinded by the explosion.
Just close your eyes.
Oh my gosh, it's burned into our retinas!
$3K each. But when they try to make an excuse to get out of the party, Masami just pulls out another invitation, burning it into their retinas again like it's nothing. While all the chaos is going down, we cut to Richard and Nicole at the hospital. And it's not even for the boys this time. It's for Anaise, who caught frog flu because she kissed a frog too much while waiting for her prince to arrive.
Because your daughter kept kissing frogs. That's how you get frog flu. I'll prescribe wart cream, a healthy dose of reality, and far fewer princess movies.
When you add up the retina burns, ER trips, eye treatments, meds, and Anaise catching the frog flu, you're looking at another $19,000 in medical bills, which could all have been easily avoided. But sometimes the Watersons have to sacrifice their own health to save something they really care about, like Elmore. In The Nuisance, the Watersons are summoned to the town hall, where the mayor offers them a brand new house, as everyone in Elmore wants the Watersons to leave town. So to try to prevent this, the Watersons attempt to become model citizens and help people in Elmore in order to stay. And of course, during the process, they get hurt, from getting bit by snakes to making themselves targets for bullies. The Watersons become all the talk in Elmore, and then turn into real human versions of themselves that show a theoretical perfect family, except for Darwin, who was turned into a dog. Poor guy. But then they learn that the mayor's real plan all along is to sell Elmore to rich investors, which would mess with everyone in Elmore, which doesn't quite resonate with them. So they switch back to their old selves, literally, and cause full-on chaos in Elmore to ruin the sale and protect their town. I know, it sounds confusing, but that was their plan. They unleash termites in someone's house, dump radioactive goo on another, and draw a crime scene. But when Nicole hands Richard a car wheel, he throws it into a burning tire pile and passes out from the smoke. Then we go back to Gumball, who somehow convinces someone to mug people, but instead just ends up beating Gumball with the bat. And for their efforts, the Watersons get tomatoes thrown at their faces, which Richard finds is more of a reward than a punishment. When you add up the snake bites, bully beatings, breathing smoke, and getting whacked by a bat, you're staring at about $27,000 in hospital bills. And all that just to stop Elmore from getting sold off to a bunch of rich buyers. But now, let's talk about an injury from one of the newest episodes of Gumball, in The Rankle. And there are some crazy injuries in this one. We see our first injury when Richard triggers a magnetic force on the machine, causing the entire Watterson family to get sucked in and then explode. And it looks like the Watersons got some pretty bad injuries from this. Besides Anaise and Nicole, Gumball, Darwin, and Richard look like they just lost a fight with a blender. But I'd assume that if this was enough to break the literal camera, it probably caused some brute force trauma to the brain. So I'll add that up to at least $10,000 for the three of them to fix that, and all their bandages. But it doesn't stop there, because just a short while later, Richard shoves his butt out of the car so he can reach into his bag of candy, and he gets full-on hit by a semi-truck. And because this put him in a full-body cast, this at least has got to add an ambulance ride, ER trauma care and stabilization, full-body CT scans and x-rays, surgery, if any bones required pins or rods, the full-body cast plus orthopedic care, pain medication, monitoring, neck brace, crutches, follow-ups, and physical therapy prep. And assuming there was no overnight stay at the hospital, I'm gonna say this was roughly $27,000 on its own. And if we had the $10,000 from earlier, that brings the medical bills in this episode to about $37,000. But the hospital bills are gonna really start ramping up in the episode The Code, where Gumball and Darwin try to watch a cat video, but the Wi-Fi isn't working, and they come to the conclusion that Mr. Robinson must have changed it, after Richard admits that they've been secretly using the Robinsons' Wi-Fi for years, and they can't get their own, since their credit is so bad that they need coins just to use the fridge. So Gumball and Darwin try to find other ways to enjoy life without using the internet. But just like you, who can't survive without using the internet, or being subscribed to Gumball Universe, or the best Gumball content in the world, the boys immediately get bored after trying to read a book. So they take Anaise's advice to recreate the internet experience in real life. They build a fake streaming service out of cardboard, and even set up an email system where Darwin receives a video of Richard falling off a lawn chair. They keep going, trash talking over Scrabble like it's online gaming, trolling Larry with fake product reviews, and when they get kicked out, Gumball thinks he can reset his router by banging himself in the head with a piece of scrap wood. But if you think this episode is done with the characters getting injured, you'd be dead dead wrong, with there being 2 more separate instances where Gumball finds himself on a trip to the ER. When continuing to act like real life is the internet, Gumball's butt literally falls off, that being his own version of LMBO, aka laughing my butt off. And while he thinks that was just a joke, he could be looking at over $50,000 to get it reattached. But he'll probably then have to go back, because after this, they decide to sneak into Mr. Robinson's house to get the password, with Anaise giving them instructions in a box that crushes Gumball.
What's a box truck?
And when you add up the ER visits, head injuries, crushed bones, pain meds, and butt surgery, you heard me right, you're staring at over $68,000 in medical bills. But next, let's talk about the time Anaise was the only one who ended up in the hospital, though it wasn't quite what it looked like. In the episode The Brain, Anaise is in the hospital for too much face palming, so much so that there is a handprint on her skull, all because of her family's stupidity. The doctor warns that if she facepalms again, her brain could shrink even more. So the Watersons have to go a full week without doing anything dumb. Of course, that's easier said than done. From trying to order food at a toll booth, to bleaching the entire house, dealing with a grocery store cashier overseen by a toddler supervisor, and a talking fetus CEO, avoiding dumb moments for the Watersons is basically impossible. Turns out, Anaise has facepalmed herself into a coma the moment Gumball screamed 9 whole days.
Do you know how we weren't supposed to say or do anything stupid for a week?
Anaise cannot be exposed to any form of stupidity for an entire week.
9 whole days?
When she asks the doctor what's actually wrong with her, he lists off a bunch of symptoms: headaches, stress, nonstop facepalming, and being surrounded by way too much yelling, which all come at a cost to the family. And unfortunately, there's no cure. Although it turns out it was all a dream, I think it still makes sense to include it since I do see it happening one day, if Anaise just constantly slaps her head from the constant stupidity around her. And when you add up the ER visits, brain scans, ambulance rides, meds, ICU time, and hospital stays, you're looking at $85,000 or more in medical bills. Facepalming may sound silly, but brain injuries are not cheap. All of those tests and treatments add up fast, making this way more expensive than anyone would expect. However, let's finally jump to the higher numbers, as in this next injury, we see it pretty much double. And it's in the episode The Goons. Anaise sees how much fun Gumball, Darwin, and Richard are having being dumb, and wants to be dumb for just one day. So Gumball and Darwin go through a bunch of dumb things, and games like Mr. President, Talking Dumb, and making sandwiches the wrong way. But Anaise just doesn't get it, until she realizes in order to be dumb, you don't have to think at all. And instantly, she gets along with Darwin and Richard. Maybe a little too much, because as soon as she becomes really good at being dumb, Gumball starts feeling left out as Anaise and Darwin spend more time with Richard. So Gumball organizes a dumb race, where you have to run as far as you can while being blindfolded, and whoever runs the farthest becomes the dumbest. Here, we got other characters competing, like Banana Joe, Tobias, and even adults like Rocky. However, the contest ends really fast when everyone in the race gets hurt, from turning into a banana split, and even getting eaten alive by ducks. Or if your name is Richard, being accidentally proposed to by Larry. With just a few contestants left, it's down to Gumball and Anaise. But Gumball's been mad at her the whole time, so they talk it out, and Anaise admits that she only wanted to be dumb for a day, which actually makes Gumball feel a little bit better. They make up, share a moment, then immediately get ran over by Marvin as they step into the street.
Let's go home.
Ow! 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 Huh? Oh, the eyes! I blew it!
And when you add up all the broken bones, bruises, ambulance rides, and emergency care from other motor scooter accidents, the medical bill could be close to $192,000. That's about $96,000 each for Gumball and Anaise. But if you think Gumball's jealousy ends here, then you'd be dead wrong. In the episode The Password, Gumball, Darwin, and Anaise fight over the computer, only to realize it's been locked with the password. They try guessing it and literally smash their faces into the keyboard. After some definite brain damage, they find out that the password is Anaise.
Yes! What are you doing? A victory dance! That doesn't matter. Don't you get it? Anaise is a favorite child. Yeah, but...
Revealing she's Nicole and Richard's favorite child, which obviously they don't like. So in order to win Richard over, they start making him breakfast, and this results to them forcing a massive sandwich into his mouth, and he immediately starts choking on it. Gumball tries to do the Heimlich maneuver to stop Richard from choking, but his arms are too short to reach around Richard's massive stomach, so he and Darwin panic and start jumping on him instead, trying to force the sandwich out, and it kind of works, with Richard ending up vomiting the whole thing onto the ceiling. After that, they try to give him a relaxing bath, but Richard steps on a bar of soap, grabs the shower curtain, and knocks over a candle, setting himself on fire. He dives into the tub to put it out, only to scald himself with hot water. He tries to make a run for it, but Gumball and Darwin aren't alone. They plant a cube-based attack dog into his car, intending to rescue him. Instead, Richard gets mauled, panics, and ends up running into the street, where he's hit by a car. And when Richard has enough with everything, Gumball and Darwin say that Nicole is their favorite parent, which would escalate further when Nicole and Richard enter a full-on parental competition to win over the kid's affection, which turns out to be the person behind the whole thing the entire time, Anaise, who changed the password in the first place. So for a choking scare that nearly needed the Heimlich, second-degree burns from a bathroom fire, an attack dog that ends with Richard getting hit by a car, you can get a hospital bill around $260,000. And when you throw in stuff like visits, outpatient care, or therapy from all the sheer trauma of all of it, it can total easily over $300,000. But that still leaves you well short of the $1 million mark. But we get close to it in this next episode, The Loophole. It starts with Gumball staying after class to complain to Miss Simeon about the homework, but she doesn't care in the slightest. So she tells him to put it in a suggestion box, which shreds his request.
Where do I file a complaint about the suggestion box?
Please post it in the complaint box.
And where's that?
Which causes Gumball to tell Darwin about how he wishes he could skip childhood entirely. Bobbert overhears this, and in true Bobbert fashion, he takes it literally. Then he blows up Gumball's head. If it wasn't for Gumball being able to regenerate his head, this would be a costly bill, even if he survived. But he realizes Bobbert is a serious threat, and he and Darwin try to reprogram him in their bedroom, giving him instructions to stop harming others. But Bobbert keeps finding technical loopholes that result in Gumball getting repeatedly injured, using radiation as one way to injure Gumball without touching him. He also sends him to last year in the episode The Spoiler. At one point, Darwin chokes on a snack, Gumball tries to help, but Bobbert intervenes, claiming his method might injure Darwin's spine. Instead, Bobbert inflates Darwin like a balloon, and Gumball just pops him. And if you add up all the things I just mentioned, that could cost around $640,000, all because Gumball and Darwin didn't feel like doing their homework. To put it in perspective, only about 10% of Americans will ever earn $640,000 or more in their entire lifetime. But now, for the final episode, we have an astronomical bill, and it's in none other than the Copycats, where things become even more interesting, because technically, the Wattersons themselves won't be the ones paying. The episode starts with the Wattersons out shopping, where Gumball and Darwin encounter their doppelgangers, Chi-Chi and Ribbit, who copy their every move. When they tell the others, their family brushes it off as harmless, but when they spot the entire Copycat family mocking them, driving a nearly identical car, they realize something strange is going on and try to get to the bottom of it. Gumball discovers that the doppelgangers are TV stars in China who have been copying the family's adventures and profiting off of them for a while the Wattersons struggle to even make a single dime. While discussing how to recover from their financial struggles, Richard accidentally tips the couch, only for a video of the copycats doing the exact same thing to pop up online. So finally, they confront these doppelgangers, telling them to be themselves. So if these imposters want to follow their every move, that means they'll just have to start making moves no normal person would follow, so the copycats can off themselves. They try things that are super dangerous, from blowing up their own home, to juggling chainsaws, and Richard even getting a kidney transplant.
Where are we going?
To the hospital. I'm gonna donate an organ of their choice.
But none of that works, and the copycats keep matching them move for move, bar for bar. So the Wattersons go out and do the craziest stunt yet. They hijack a gas truck, light the road on fire behind them, and start going straight towards an unfinished bridge. However, we're going too off track, and the plot of this episode doesn't really matter too much, because the thing that really counts for these medical bills here are the kidney transplant. Costs can easily hit around $500,000 when you factor in the surgery, the hospital stay, and the first year of medications and care. But you may be thinking, why is that not $1 million? Well, yes, a kidney transplant isn't $1 million, but what makes this episode interesting is that the person who got the kidney was Richard's doppelganger himself. And because Richard and the doppelganger are basically the same person, that means the Wattersons would technically be paying for two Richards, doubling their medical bill, costing them way over $1 million. That's enough money to buy over 200,000 cheeseburgers, which we all know Richard would eat without even thinking twice. But I'm not even done here. If we're counting the Richard doppelganger who received the kidney, he'd have to take anti-rejection meds, which are a drug patients need every single day for the rest of their lives. And if he takes them for, let's say, 50 years, those meds alone could cost between $500,000 and $700,000. And if both Richard and his doppelganger pay their half of $500,000, factoring in the anti-rejection meds costing $700,000, combined, the hospital bill could be looking at a total of $1.7 million. So if we combine the cost of all of the bills from every single episode we just talked about, we're looking at a bill of $3,474,500. So if the Wattersons have to pay these medical bills, they'd be drowning in debt, paying over $3 million, which is an amount only 1% of US families will ever see in their life.